Não sei dizer, tudo é novo pra mim. Meu coração se renova. Sinto a esperança invadir o meu ser. Quero ser manso, ser limpo, ser justo e pobre de espírito ser. Tua palavra me sonda, me conta do reino que espera por mim. Eu te ofereço meu pranto, as dores da alma que quer renascer. Eu ouvi tua voz, teu falar me encantou. Quis seguir, caminhar, quis saber pra onde vou. Eis-me aqui, minha dor, sereno. There is a feeling around me I can't describe. It is all new to me. Oh Lord, my heart is reviving. A feeling of hope is invading my soul. I want to be gentle, be pure, be fair, and a humble kind of man. Jesus, your loving words reach me, telling of the kingdom that waits for me. I offer you all my tears and pains of a soul that wants to be reborn. I have heard your voice, your words amaze me. Want to follow your steps, want to go where I would. Here I am, my soul is with me. Eu ouvi tua voz, teu falar me encantou. Quis seguir, caminhar, quis saber pra onde vou. Eis-me aqui, minha dor, sereno. Sentimento me ronda. Não sei dizer, tudo é novo pra mim. Meu coração se renova. Sinto a esperança invadir o meu ser.
Boa noite.
Good evening. Welcome to the first World Meeting of Jesus Friends with Chico Xavier and his legacy, and to the 10th National Meeting. Today, our theme will be the Good News by Humberto de Campos with Maria do Rosário Jordão, that has got to know Spiritist in 1987, starting to belong to the spirit group Patuira in 1998. This is a house which was created to announce the doctrine through the impaired words of Chico Xavier. Maria do Rosário is a director of the house. Since she has read the posthumous works in the 90s, she was sure that Chico was a reincarnation of Kardec. Welcome you all over the world, those who are here with us. And welcome Miss Maria do Rosário, the interpreters Bruno Soares and Lilian Braga for this wonderful night. Good evening, everyone. And good afternoon for those who are on the other side of the planet. First of all, we would like to thank our friend Geraldo Lemos Neto, Geraldinho, who invited us, and this has honored us. And I hope we can cope with this honor. Before we start our homage to Chico, I would like to thank my spiritist house, the group Spirit Batral, and their founders and directors, Dona Aldina and Senor Orlando Carvalho, without whom I wouldn't be here today, because those were the people who taught me how to love the doctrine and to know Chico, with whom they have actually had contact with more than 20 years. So I would like to start by saying that Francisco Cândido Xavier is a messenger of Jesus that has followed him in centuries to bring the gospel, to help humanity through his life example. He came here to teach us, to perfect our feelings, and having influenced thousands of people to practice the gospel. With his incentive, the creches were opened, pensions and orphanages, and many other social places. He was also an interpreter of Jesus, because he brought new hope to the difficult hearts that were always looking for answers to their sufferings, to their griefs. Through his many examples, he taught us that it is essential to perfect our feelings so that tomorrow we can ripe the seeds of today. And after Jesus, Chico has been the best psychic antenna, the best medium that existed. He's always at the service of humanity. Or, like he said, he was a humble servant to the doctrine by Allan Kardec. He wrote many books and he received many messages, and he has worked practically to his last day of life without really caring about his eye impairment, his sight impairment, or his frail health. And about his books, he used to say that books were a result of the goodness of the spiritual plan. And Chico Xavier, you couldn't see the least discrepancy between the man, the medium, and the content of his work. These three aspects, they blended in his personality. The capacity of empathy. He put himself in others' shoes, and he understood and forgave. He valued all the personality traits of human personality, even those that do not look so well for us. He had a true respect for all people and the balance of their sublimations. This is everything that characterizes the man of goodness, according to the Gospel, according to Spiritism in chapter 7. All that has always been according to his life and his doctrine principles, the doctrine principles of spiritualism. And for all that, thank you so much, Chico. Thank you. Thank you for your blessed hands that they have helped harvest our hearts so that the gospel could be planted and be fruitful in our lives. We are grateful. There's no limit to our gratitude. And we can't have words to exemplify that. And to pay you some honor, we have chosen, together with our friend Ana Suero, some chapters from the book that we are going to present, the Good News or Jesus Gospel. So we are going to start by saying that Jesus was born during Augustus' kingdom that was called Caio Julius Caesar Octavius, and it was a kingdom that was described by historians as the golden time of Augustus because of the beauty and harmony that existed if we compare it to the previous times or even to post times. Through Chico Xavier, Humberto de Campos dictated many books and thousands of messages. One of them was this, the Good News, that was dictated at the end of 1941. And it says that the arrival of Christ involved Earth in excelsior vibrations, which came from heaven. And at Augustus' time, this was the century of the gospel, or the good news. The book is a set of little stories about Jesus and his first followers. It's not the story that has been told in the Gospels, but the life of Jesus explained by spirits, as Humberto de Campos tells us in the preface, putting up the veil about Jesus' passage on earth. And it's from these thousands of episodes that compose this heaven folklore, he selected 30 to write the book. So they are information which is true, but we have to clarify that these pieces of information can only be done by high elevated spirits that have moral conditions for that. And always that these pieces of information have a proposal, useful proposal. For us, it's a book that explains the passage of Jesus through earth, and it confirms many principles of the Spiritist doctrine, such as reincarnation, the survival of the soul, and the communication of spirits after the death of the physical body. In the same preface, Humberto de Campos also says that his themes are not similar to the ones that he wrote when he was incarnated. He died in 1934, and that there are many people that are surprised with that, without remembering that the taste, the literary taste of the spirit, also prefers the conditions of life as a spirit. And so he says, my current problem is not to write, to record. I'm sorry. Okay, Rodrigo, I'm sorry. My current issue is not writing for pleasure, but writing with usefulness. And then he continues, as you can see, I'm not quoting the ancient or contemporary classics. I'm quoting Mark and John. It is because there are many enlightened spirits and evangelized spirits. And I ask God now that blesses my prayers to belong to the latter ones. So here, the word clarified, people or entities which are educated in a way. Nevertheless, culture itself doesn't make anyone wise. Its wisdom is to use the culture that you have. So it's better to be wise with less culture than to have a lot of culture and use it wrongly. It is the truth, wisdom that will take us to humility, that will make us apt to acquire the culture that we want, that at any age we will use our knowledge to do good and acquire more wisdom. Rodrigo, good news. So what is the meaning of that? Let's see. The arrival of Christ was annunciated by many different prophets in the Old Testament, from which Isaiah in the chapter 9, versicles 6 and 7. He said, the people who walked in the darkness have seen a great light, and the light has on those living in the land of the deep darkness. For us, a child is born, a son was given. The government will be on his shoulder, and he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Prince of Peace, so that his power can be multiplied and establish a peace forever. So, confirming this prophecy, Jesus was born on earth in a very crowded place, and there was concurrency, and in spite of his pure spirit, the master became as a little one, so he could bring the evolution to humanity, and so that his message could reach every man. So, if we go back to Boa Nova, in the first chapter, they talk about the glorious era of Augusto, Caio Júnior, Caesar, Octavius. New age has dawned with that young and magnanimous man. The great empire of the world, almost as it was influenced by a set of strange forces, rested on a wave of harmony and joy after so many secular and frightful wars. And it was a time of many, many conflicts, and the historians did realize that this was a century of the gospel and the good news. And Carlos Bacelli says that Chico's life was the applied gospel time. He was a point of reference to all those who want to follow the purposes of Jesus on earth, because effectively his life was serving Christ. And in the message 158, the Gospel of Chico Xavier, this says the following: I believe that the importance of the Gospel in our evolution is similar to the importance of the sun in the sustainability of our physical life. And in the same way, we can also connect Chico with the chapter on the disciples, because as we know, he was also a disciple of Christ during many centuries and became again during the 19th century as Kardec and in the 20th century as Chico, because of the services that he has paid to the gospel and the doctrine, for the richness of his feelings, for his contribution, his exceptional contribution as a medium of Jesus, and for his love for humanity. And so, Humberto de Campos tells us that it was near Capharnaum that Jesus gathered the big community that were his followers. And it was amongst the humblest and the simplest men of Lake Kinneret that he chose his 12 companions, that from then on would be the interpreters of his actions and teachings. So, according to Matthias, the first recommendations that Jesus made clarified the norms of actions that disciples should follow. Rodrigo. Beloved, you shall not take the broad path where all these people walk, by taking the easy and inferior interests. You shall seek the scabrous and narrow ones of sacrifice for the good of all people. You shall not also enter the realms of fruitless discussions like the Samaritans on the field that never learn from the true kingdom of the hearts that are filled with honest effort. So, the recommendation of the Master was very clear. Rodrigo. Walk ahead in search of the lost sheep from the house of our Father that are found in affliction and voluntarily lost their grounds from his divine love. And Chico, didn't Chico do that? Exactly that. Wasn't this what happened in the overcrowded meetings where so many people, more than 300 people gathered in a very small space? Weren't many of them examples of the divine love of God? Many of these people were oppressed, who came to him looking for a solution to their many problems and griefs. As, for example, the incredible number of mothers that Chico has comforted and transformed with the blessings that were received and psychographing the message of their children. And what was the advice that Chico gave them so that they could attenuate the despair of having lost their dear ones? So you should help the other, that they should use the time to get in touch with necessities and charity and social assistance. And so many children's creches, many orphanages were created. And Jesus continued to to talk to his disciples, according to Humberto de Campos, telling them, I have gathered here all those who find themselves with a heavy heart, and told them my share, and it's the right from the kingdom of God. And so it was this incredible work that Chico has done for many years, in which he would go to nature, and he did this gospel cult under an avocado tree, and there he met a crowd of people who wanted to hear him, like Carlos Barcelo informs us. At the shadow of the avocado tree, he also gave them bread, gave them a smile, clothes, and hope in the name of God. He greeted everyone. He called them by their names. He asked them about their family, and he kissed their hands. So now, Jesus continued talking.
I worked to heal the sick, to clean the leprous, to resuscitate all that are dead and laid on the shades of crime or on the ungrateful delusions of our world, enlighten all the spirits that live in darkness, giving for free what for free is earned. Jesus never hid the difficulties of the task. He let them know that they would be delivered to the tribunals and to be punished on temples, from where the idea of God was hidden. They shall be taken as defendants to the presence of governors and kings, of tyrants and non-believers, so you can testify my cause, said the Lord, promising them, however, that he would be beside them, and whoever persevered until the end would be saved. Now, let's move on to chapter 6 from the same book that talks about the faith in God. Alone, gathered with his disciples, Jesus taught that the faith in God must be one of the first virtues. We must not question the faith in our Father. Your dedication, said Jesus, of our spirits since the first day. We had not known him, and yet he already loved us. And so the Master also added, everything in life has a price that matches. If you reluctantly falter before the blessings of sacrifice and the joys of the job, meditate on the tributes that faithfulness to the world demands. Doesn't pleasure ask from man a higher and more painful tax? Timidly, James, son of Alphaeus, tell the story of a friend that damaged his health by overindulging on condemnable pleasures. Thaddeus mentioned and acquainted that after winning a great fortune, had become avaricious and petty, to the extent of depriving himself the necessity for multiplying his money, ended up murdered by thieves. Peter remembered the story of a fisherman who tragically succumbed due to his unmeasured greed. After listening to them, Jesus asked, don't you think the tribute of the world that demands of those who attach themselves to pleasures and richness far too great? If the world asks for so much, why wouldn't God ask us for loyalty in our hearts? And added, we now work for the divine institution in his kingdom of earth. But until when shall the Father be working for us? And answering for an observation made by James, the Messiah remembered that not everyone are going to understand the truth all at once. We should consider, said Jesus, that the world is full of believers who don't understand heaven's protection, albeit only on the days of peacefulness and triumph. We, however, that know the supreme will have to follow the script. We must not think of what God gives, but what our Father teaches. Not what God rewards us, but what he perfects. Thus, our battle for redemption must be perseverant and truthless. And so he continues. No one can serve two lords at once. It would be absurd to live on the same time for the earthly condemned pleasures and for the sublime virtues of heaven. The disciple from the good news must serve God, serving his work in this world. He knows how to arduously work on a great field that is property of his Father, that watches fondly over him, and that cherishes his work with love, and complete it. The son of faithful heart to his Father casts himself to work with perseverance and goodwill. Above all things, said Jesus, we must have faith in God. This chapter also talks about what Chico was, always a servant faithful to God. According to Chico himself, one of the first meetings that he had with Jesus, he then explaining that he would work beside him for a long time. And that the master told him that he should work, that he should look for the Jesus teachings and the lessons of Kardec. And he also said that if someday me, Manuel, tell you something that is not really according to Jesus' words and Kardec's words, that Chico should be with Jesus and Kardec and forget about him. And so we go to chapter 8, that is called Good Spirit. In there, Humberto de Campos tells that Bartholomew was one of the most dedicated disciples of Christ, but that he was sad, even though he couldn't actually describe from where the sadness came from. But he said that the gospel would fill him with hope. When you enlighten us that your kingdom is not from this world, said he to Jesus, I felt as if new courage had arisen inside me to walk through the miseries of the path of earth. Everywhere you look, you see the victory of crime, the game of ambition, the harvest of the disillusioned. Jesus told him calmly that his kingdom was not from this world, but that didn't mean he wouldn't like to extend his heart for those who inhabit the earth. However, he added, the gospel would first have to flourish in the souls of the creatures before flourishing in the spirits of the people. And he also remembered that the earthly life is a dangerous path, but that can take you towards the loving arms of God. And that to work is to march. The common struggle on our everyday path. The delightful instants in the mornings and the serenity hours at night are our resting hours. Be it on labor or during physical rest, the opportunity of just an hour, of a light action, of a humble word, it's the invite of our Father, so we can see his blessings. And he also added, truth does not demand, it transforms. The gospel would not reclaim special conditions from his disciples. However, it is necessary to consider that joy, courage, and hope should be constant traits on your daily activities. It was asked from Bartholomew, and what about when the adventures of the world are harsh on us, and when everything seems against us? Jesus answered, what is the venture of the world, Bartholomew? Would the adventure that by hard steps taken many times that gags the heart and the consciousness to lift the worries of material life, or the definitive illumination of God's soul that carries out through nothing but the goodwill of man and that seeks to march towards his love among the heathers on the way. And Bartholomew also said, I'm sorry, now Jesus is saying, wouldn't adversity on the ventures of the world be a friendly invitation for the creature to seed with greater love, an indirect appeal that rips through the illusions of the earth for the truths and the kingdoms of God? And what about when we lose a person dear to us, insisted Bartholomew? Is it fair to be said? Jesus answered, but who is lost when God is our Father? If even the ones buried in the mud of crimes shall one day also glimpse the dawn of redemption, why should we be sorry, be in despair for the friend that left by hearing the Almighty's calling? Death of the body only opens the doors to a whole new world for the soul. No one is truly an orphan on earth, as no other being is abandoned, because God is everything and we are all his children. The essence of Jesus' gospel, also known, like we mentioned before, by the word good news, that literally means good messages. That's the essence of the Gospels of Jesus, which is to make sure that the humanity follows the path towards goodness. And that was what Chico, his apostle from the 20th century, always have done. He made sure he pointed humanity towards the right direction of the good and the wishes that always kept on the path towards God by making sure the work, be it social, be it inside the doctrine, or during the society that he lived. And in the book, The Missions of Chico Xavier, it is also said that Chico tried his best, even beyond his limits, the meanings of being accepted. Not only did he accept all the life's hardships, but he only thanked them. And he will always say that suffering is a blessing and that it was the shortest way so we could retrieve ancient lives and then learn with them. And even though all the humiliations and persecutions, Chico never gave up. The way he felt about his mission and the way he gave to other people always made sure he will always follow and always went ahead, just like Jesus told him to. And through the Boa Nova, the good news gospel, Jesus showed everything that is essential to us Christians if we want to be happy and continue to evolve. And the magic formula is to love the Lord, your God, above all things, and your brother as yourself. Everything else, my friends, are only consequence for these two teachings. And those were what Chico always tried to practice throughout his life. The spiritual motivation that was part of his life and that he taught to us throughout the 20th century was nothing but a reflect of our master's gospel. And that's why he was, and he still is, the summary of what a good man really is. We should follow his example, so one day we can also reach the same level that his superior spirit reached, always working towards the highest one. And is with this final remark that I would like to say goodbye here from Lisbon. May you be blessed with peace. Thank you very much.
Nosso obrigado à senhora Maria do
Our
Rosário
thanks to Maria do Rosário Jordão for her excellent lecture, talking direct from Portugal. Thank you so much. We are very satisfied with all these words that always make our hearts happier. Our hearts, as our Portuguese tell us, friends tell us. Thank you, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, our interpreters tonight, Bruno Soares and Lilian Braga, and also the technical teams that are working with us, Portugal, Lithuania, Romania, England, Switzerland, United States, Ireland, Germany, and Uruguay, and all the radios here in Brazil, which are broadcasting this. We would like to thank Rodrigo Costa and all the team from Vivencia Espírita, who are also here. Rodrigo has been here since the afternoon to get everything right, and everything has worked out. Thank God. So we are joyful to say what's going to happen tomorrow and during the rest of this week. And after that, we are going to have Rodrigo to talk about the bookshop, okay? So I hope you are always here with us till Sunday, because we have a lot of things going on, a lot of things to talk about and to reflect upon for a better world, and also on our path through evolution. So tomorrow, the 6th of October, we'll have Geraldine Lemos doing the Gospel Essays by Emmanuel, 6:30 p.m. Brasilia time. The 7th, we have Fernando Peron, the originality of Chico Xavier's words at 6:30 p.m. The 8th, Sona Barsanti, with the Gospel in the Life and Works of Chico Xavier at 6:30. And on Saturday, the 9th, Noemi Maria José, with Primitive Christianity at 2 p.m. Brasilia's time, Brazil. And on the same day, Sérgio Santos and Marlene will have a musical gospel on Chico Xavier at 3 p.m. And on Sunday, we close our event with Bacelli the Comforter at 3 p.m. So we hope we will be here and we'll be all gathered here. So now, Rodrigo Costa, the floor is yours. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, all those who are listening to us. I would like to thank the radios, Radio Espaço Espírita from Barra Velha, the Rede Doctrine from Rio de Janeiro, Web Radio Semente de Amor, Seeds of Love, and the Radio Portal da Luz, Light Portal. They are all connected to us here. So I would like to thank all of you who are taking part through YouTube. We are getting many messages, and we also thank the presence of all of you. I would like to invite you to go on our site. The site of this event is called Amigos of Chico Xavier .vivenciaespirita.com.br, so that you can look at our bookshop if you enter our site. So if you just go down, you can also see the lectures that already went on. And here you can see the bookshop of our meeting. We have 656 books by Chico Xavier. Like all the other editions, of this national meeting, Candia sets up the books. We only have books that are on the themes of biographies and books by Chico Xavier that are available, which is the objective of this event, to publicize Chico Xavier's works. The gospel is the theme of this year, but every year the objective is to publicize the works of our dear Chico Xavier. So you can go into this site, and any book that you buy using this link through this bookshop, 15% of what has been collected will be destined to 2 social charities, one in Uberaba and another one in Pedro Leopoldo, to be able to help people, which is what Chico has done throughout his life. He wrote the books and donated his rights to charities. And that's why we invite you to go on this bookshop, on this site, Amigos de Chico Xavier .vivenciaespirita.org. So now I'll ask Carlinhos to do the final prayer for us. I would like to thank all the evangelizers that have been with us. We wish you all a great rest in the peace and light and love of Jesus always. We are going to do a prayer to our dear Mother Mary, which is a psychographed text that was made by Chico Xavier. Hail Mary, Lady of Love, thou shelter and redeems. Woe to the world, but for your sublime mission. Woe to the world. Blessed art thou, full of grace and goodness. Through you we know the eternal revelation of life and its supreme gifts. The Lord is with thee, messenger of kindness, providence of those who cry in the shadows of misadventures. Blessed art thou amongst women, humanity's star, mystical rose of faith, pure lily of mankind. Blessed art thou among women, the mother of the helpless, our gate of hope, angel of our lives. Blessed be thy fruit, immortal fruit of thy illuminated light, from the peace of the manger to the pains beyond the cross. May it be forever, O Supreme Divine, shelter of those who suffer from the human plight. God bless you all. Let us be in peace and light by the love of God today and forever. Thank God, thank God, thank God.
Ser justo,